Muno Zambia Kenanika Monica Kenanika Monica Kenanika Monica Muchalo Chesule Kenanika Monica Muno Zambia Kenanika Monica Kenanika Monica Chalo Chesule Kenanika Monica Muno Zambia Kenanika Monica Tulimana Bakwetu Kenanika Monica Shunguluka Mochisolebe Webanameno Areto Beshina Geno Isheta Fika Paratila Ifwati Milele Muchalo Chesu Chomatora Ila Muchipingo Lage Hanya Mataeno Tata Lesa Wasanye Yahweh ni mwetu leita Yahweh ni mwetu subira Yahweh ni mwetu chepekela Lekena mabala yenu yekile mno Zambia Lekena makata wenu wikile mno Zambia Lekena wanashi wenu wikile Timona mutete tuwanishe Mishina lenu tukakwanisha Timona mutete tuwanishe Mishina lenu tukakwanisha Mutala tonze Zambia belongs to Jehovah. Zambia belongs to the Lord. Every knee will bow, every tongue confess. Hello, good evening, Chiwempala. Good evening, world. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Elias Munshya on TVBAKWETU, and I'm coming to you live from Calgary, Alberta. Calgary, Alberta, very nice weather, and just across my office is an airport. So we get to see planes landing and leaving here in Calgary, Alberta. Thank you for joining me. We don't have a very long agenda tonight, and so if you want to join in the conversation, please do so. And there is my link that I am spreading right now. Okay, a lot that we need to deal with, but first of all, today President Hakainde Hichilema officially launched the Kenneth Kaunda Mulungushi Wing Conference Center. Now, I'm not too sure of how it is being called, whether it's being called the Kenneth Kaunda International Conference Center or it's being called the Kenneth Kaunda Wing of Mulungushi International Conference Center. Whichever way, it's been launched. It was given to Zambia by China. So China gave us a huge conference center, which was built in record time, and it was being launched today by the president. And so it appears like it coincided with a conversation, a telephone meeting that he had with the Chinese president, President Xi Jinping, president of China. And from what the readout that we got from the meeting was that they discussed about investment, China investment into Zambia. They also discussed about a very important matter, and that is how to help restructure Zambia's debt. I don't want to be political tonight because politics. So so I don't want to be too political. But I just need to state this, the facts as they are. But you people like politics, and so you want me to be political, but no, I'm just reducing on that. But what they discussed was the restructuring of the debt. Zambia right now owes about 17 billion external debt, 17 billion external debt. And a third of that, about 6 billion, about 6 billion is owed to China. And much of it was actually contracted during the past 7 years. You know, much of the Chinese debt, we contracted it in the past 7 years. I'm saying we, because it is our country, you know, one Zambia, one nation, all of us. So it's not only, we are not supposed to be just pointing fingers, but we need to take responsibility that we as a country, we owe 17 billion external debt and about 13 billion more internal debt from the banks and other financial institutions within our country, for a total of about 30 billion debt. And so they've started having talks between the Chinese. They've now come on board. And so we commend the People's Republic of China for their willingness to engage our government and other creditors so that we can resolve the debt crunch that we have at the moment, with billions that we are actually owing at the moment. And so we are very happy with the foresight in leadership to see that we resolve the debt crisis. And there are several reasons why we must have the debt crisis resolved. And one of the reasons is because if we do not resolve this crisis, we are going to be channeling a lot of money to debt servicing instead of that money going into the productive sectors for our country. Things like education, health, helping the needy, social service investments, and several other, and infrastructure development as well. And so we need to resolve the debt. So we are hoping that all political players, because this is not a partisan issue, this is a national crisis. And so all political players, they need to be encouraging our government at the moment so that they resolve
this problem. I don't want to go there to who created it. You all know how this problem came to be. It's a notorious fact. In law, there is something that we call a notorious fact. A notorious fact is something that is so factual that disputing it is a waste of time and common sense. So you all know this notorious fact of how we engaged ourselves into this $17 billion debt. But now that we found ourselves in this situation, let us all encourage one another to see that we resolve it. And so I would like to appeal to every citizen in our country. Your voice matters, your social status matters, your social media status matters. And just by saying that you are in support of the efforts that are being done to renegotiate the debt that Zambia has, it is sending a message to all the creditors that it's not only the government that is interested in having this debt restructured, but every citizen is interested in it. Right? That is one of the duties that we have in civic activism. The idea that the creditors are watching the mood of the country, the mood of the nation, the mood of the people. And if we as a people are in support of our government's effort at dealing with this debt crisis, it is going to send very positive message. The other thing is we are a Christian nation, and so we need to be together when dealing with national crisis like this. Believe me, some of the things that we seem to be focusing on are not national crisis. Things like things like what other people are posting at the Chimbwika Yupe. That is not a national crisis. The national crisis is the debt, and we defaulted. What default means is that we did not pay China in 2020. So from 2020 to the present, we've been defaulting on paying China the debt that we owe it. And so it is only natural that we come together and see how we resolve it. We are also owing on the Euro bonds. You remember the Euro bonds and all that? We are defaulting on that as well. So it's just natural. Let us band together, renegotiate this, have some of it forgiven, and then channel that money not into the pockets of individuals, but channel it into productive sectors of our country. That's why I remain very, very hopeful for the future of our country, because once we renegotiate that debt, begin paying it back slowly, receive some financing from IMF with the Extended Credit Facility, ECF, that is going to help us get out of the water. The situation in which we are at the moment is extremely grave. It's very, very serious. So much debt. We have defaulted, and several other international crises going on. It requires a lot of grace and hard work to see that we get ourselves out. And I'm very happy to see that we have a government that is willing to work to do the hard job, right? Not the easy way out. Okufua a scapegoat, no, but actually sit down, negotiate with people, talk to the people that we are owing money, so that we renegotiate all that debt. And so that is the most important thing that is going on at the moment. Okay. That is one of the greatest things that are going on at the moment, to have our debt restructured and renegotiated, and so speaking to the Chinese is important. But I always say it. I will say it again today. The in addition to us having a conversation with the Chinese, we also need to learn from the Chinese. And so the question is, how did they become a lender? You know, they were borrowers, but they became lenders. They grew their economy. They concentrated on investment. They concentrated on turnover. The more things they produced, the better it became for their economy. They concentrated on attracting foreign direct investment into their country. They went to Abasungu and asked Abasungu to come into China and build factories, such that within 10 to 20 years, China became the industry of the entire world to date. And so those are the kind of lessons we need to learn from them, so that Zambia does not just become a country that goes to borrow from the Chinese, but Zambia becomes a country that learns from the Chinese how they did it. Remember, China is still actually growing as an economy, and still, due to the population and the GDP, it's still a developing nation. Just like Zambia, it's still a developing nation. But even if it's a developing nation, it has made huge strides because it changed something about the way it was doing business. And that is the kind of approach we need in Zambia. There is no nation that has developed without the model that China has decided to adopt. And what is that model? Attract foreign investors into your country, become the manufacturer for the world, and supply to the world what the world needs. Simple. But it requires a lot of hard work. And I hope that Zambia, under this current leadership, is going to do that and is doing that. Okay, so that is what really stands out for me with regards to the telephone meeting that the president had today and the opening of the Kenneth Kaunda wing of Mulungushi International Conference Center. Very wonderful building, and I hope it all goes well. Someone was asking to say, did the president talk about the company that disappeared? The company that has disappeared. So that company apparently it has disappeared. Nobody can trace it. I trust that our Zambian law enforcement agencies are going to work very hard to find at least those people who were responsible for that disappearance. And so the fight against corruption remains a very important fight, because no matter how much economic gains we make, if we are corrupt, we can't develop. That's why Africa's biggest existential threat right now is corruption. Corruption remains the biggest threat to African development. And if we don't figure out corruption in Africa, we shall continue to be the doormat of the world, basically. Yeah, it's that serious. That's why, for me, I don't think a compromise on corruption helps us in the long run. It doesn't. That's why the reason why we are pushing to hold the previous government accountable is because I believe very, very sincerely that unless we fought corruption, Zambia won't develop. Africa won't. We have examples of great countries, great resources, but corruption is still crippling their growth. Be it Angola, be it Nigeria, or Zambia itself. And as long as you have corruption, you can't develop. And so are we willing as a people in Zambia to be able to say that we are going to say no to corruption? I think that is what is going to make a difference, basically. The Chinese themselves actually, and this is one of the most paradoxical things. So China invited foreign direct investment, and it became a manufacturer for the world. But secondly, it also dealt with corruption, China. Now, we shouldn't sound a little bit too political, but in China, if you receive a kickback, right? It's known as kickbacks. Okay, you steal through kickbacks. They kill you. So for example, mulekule chintu, elo nomba wapanga ka company akabufi. And then you award a tender to a contractor. Elo nomba ida contractor, yasa kupela ko a little bit of money as a politician or as a politically exposed person. In China, they kill you. Now, that's not what we are suggesting here, because we are a Christian nation. But unless we are really serious in our fight against corruption, it won't work. The focus mostly in Africa is on what the multinational companies are doing, right? So Glencore, apparently Glencore is a very corrupt company, and it is being charged 1.5 billion by Americans and the British for corruption. And yet, in Africa, there isn't any of those efforts that are being made to punish the African politically exposed people who were corrupted by Glencore. And that's where the biggest problem is. It's not that we are not as corrupt as everybody else. The problem is that we are not willing to confront corruption and punish it in Africa. And as long as we can't do that, development is going to be elusive. That's it. Because how do you explain? Glencore comes into Africa, corrupts politicians. This is why politics matter. If you are a Zambian and you are interested in politics and you are a good guy, please join it. Don't leave it to the Kelenkas. Because if you leave it to the Kelenka, you know what? They have the courage, they have the voice, they have the volume, they have everything that they have the courage, no kufula, kutiba fula, so that you vote for them. That's the kind of courage that they have. There is nothing they are not willing to do. And some of you, because you are good people, because mulibena Kristo bamoba, because you are very educated, you decide to say that you're going to just stand back and leave it up to the Kelenkas to continue. If you leave it up to the Kelenkas, they are going to fill the void and they are going to continue corrupting. That's it. That's why we need we need to change something, right? Particularly in Zambia. The reason why we are having the same old sometimes recycled politicians is because some people are unwilling to step up and say, I am here and I am willing to serve. And the few people who step up, they get laughed at. What are you doing? You are just a job seeker. Of course, if there are people that are willing to step up in order to help correct the wrong direction in our country, they are welcome to. If they are willing to help out in their country, they are welcome to. We need to encourage them so that we change something about our country, particularly in the area of corruption, because that is the biggest threat that our country faces at the moment, corruption, right? Because how do you explain, Bakwetu? We are home. 70% of all the minerals that are needed in electric vehicles are shared between Zambia and Congo, 2 countries, 70%. We've got to say it's unacceptable for us to be poor when we have 70% of what the world needs for electric vehicles. But these companies are going to want to corrupt you. But how do you resist? You have people in power that are going to resist it. You have the people that are going to say no to corruption. Completely unacceptable as a matter of culture. That's it. I saw muntu mukubosha mwakana. And the first line of defense are the ordinary citizens in our country. Okukana ati yo bane. If you are kubosha tafia bombe yo mugese komairo. But as far as today is concerned, we are not going to agree to it. That is the kind of foundation that we need in our country. Mobutu Sese Seko Kukumbendu was a banga at one time. He had wealth that was equivalent to the entire debt of his country. One individual, $6 billion plus in his personal wealth. And Congo at that time had a debt of about 6 billion. Balance me on that one, right? And that is the story that is repeated elsewhere. And so the question is, and his justification was, I am not a thief. I've not stolen from Congo because the people who actually stole from the Congo are the Belgians. That's what he said. He said, I gave everything to these countries to keep it united. And because I gave everything to keep it united, I deserve this 6 billion. At least that's what he was implying. And he was pointing a finger at Leopold II to say that it is Leopold II who actually did the damage to the Congo, which is partially true. However, after you become independent, you begin writing your own stories. And if the rewriting of your stories is that Leopold stole, therefore, the new Leopold in Kinshasa or in Leopoldville must steal, just like Leopold stole, then you are not, you are defeated already. Right? How about Zimbabwe? The same story in Zimbabwe. And some of you Pan-Africanists, and I think Pan-Africanists are the biggest problem as far as philosophical is concerned, as far as an African philosophy of development, Pan-Africanists. Because we use the anger of Pan-Africanism and we excuse economic mismanagement on the pretext of the anger of Pan-Africanism. There's got to be a new generation of Africans now that are saying, no, anger is not a plan. Zambia needs a plan. Africa needs a plan. The Chinese realized this. They said, no, we can't just be angry. We need to do something about this. These very people, to show, they have the technology, they have the know-how, they have the market. Let's invite them in. And they knew their weaknesses because the Chinese studied the West. And the Chinese discovered the consumerism of the West. They studied it and they said, okay, we are going to supply you. Come and make everything in our country. And that was reversed. That's exactly what we need to do in Africa, where we go beyond the anger of colonialism, the anger of the pain that slavery did, the anger of disappointment and everything that Leopold and Victoria and several other people did to us, to then create plans that work for our people. Because unless there is a plan that actually works for our people, and we are not going to get anywhere. So is there a generation that is going to say no to corruption? Is there a generation that is going to hold leadership accountable? Is there a generation that is going to say you can't use Pan-Africanism as a cover to steal? Mugabe did it. Several of them are doing it in Nigeria today. In Angola, the same was happening. We can't just say because it's Pan-Africanism, therefore it is in the best interest of our country. How come? Mugabe's Zimbabwe is being sanctioned by the West, right? Now, here is the paradox. Zimbabwe is sanctioned by the West, and yet Mugabe is moving closer and closer to the Chinese, the same Chinese that are doing business with the very West that have sanctioned Zimbabwe. Common sense. Common sense. Political independence that does not correspond with common sense solutions for our people in Africa is useless. Right? Zimbabwe is a huge example. Now, there is a rumor swirling around, which is, I don't know. I don't see how the Zimbabwean state can allow a person. I want to show to Kondo. At to Kondo, Zimbabwe. 40,000 akakondo kamo 40,000. I don't think that is true. But anyway, it's very, very funny, right? But I think there's got to be a new voice, a new Africa, a new generation of young people that are going to say, we need a plan and we need to stick to a plan. This thing that we've been fed over the years of just anger and return back to anger every time is unsustainable. Let's take the Chinese example, Nangwama Arabs. Look, they're very secure in their independence, but they don't have a complex as far as developing is concerned. Oh, if you want us to develop, come we coordinate, even when balelaka. And I always say it. Mama, those words because Mulan Showat the one said it. But what happens with China and Americans and the West still confuses me. That's why we need a different approach to anger in Africa. A complete different approach. Ile approach ile ya gobat mwaka lipa fiapwa. Fiapwa ni fiapwa ilirika. No, bane. How come China na America? Oh, akasuba Fidel, even today, Fidel like over Taiwan at Chinese aircraft went over Taiwan, over the Republic of China. So the People's Republic of China, which is mainland China, and there is also another country known as Republic of China, which is Taiwan. Indeke Shachia into Taiwan. So then Bareraka Nokulaka with the West. Akasuba. This Bareraka, South China Sea, Bareraka, all the time. They don't even trust each other. And yet, Ubushiku, when everybody is sleeping, they are busy with each other. Selling, trading, buying, and everything is going good. If we watch economic development for the two countries, no. As long as you are angry, never ever look at any plans that are going to help develop your continent. No. If China and America balechta, na ifa kanshi as Africa, na ifa tuchteko, firafine balechta, pakwa na ifa tumfueko, if you bomfwa. That's the kind of approach we need. In Zambia, so people are laughing at what was the New Dawn's approach. Of course, it was a very, very well calculated approach. And today, the president has spoken with the president of China. That's a lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom. Because we are learning lessons from China. We are not just doing things that okubidima. No. Methodical. Watching how things are playing. And then striking where we need to strike for the benefit of our people in Zambia and in Africa. Because anger can never be a solution. When you know that a government is trying to lose its plot if it concentrates on anger. That's it. There is no plan beyond the anger. That's what Mugabe did in Zimbabwe. He weaponized the people's anger to the whites in Zimbabwe. And he had no plan. Well, maybe he had this plan. And what was his plan? Steal as much as he could from Zimbabwe, take it elsewhere, whether it's Singapore or China, and send 3 million of fellow Zimbabweans into South Africa, to the very country where the very policies fighting in Zimbabwe exists. In Africa, we need to say no. To say this model does not work. Beyond this model, show us a plan. And what is the plan? Fight corruption, attract foreign direct investment, cooperate with whoever is going to try and help you as a country or as a continent. Brother Lawrence.
Barrister, doctor.
I'm recovering from a half marathon on Sunday. So today I'm going to do at least 5Ks to just get my body back into shape.
That's very good. I really envy you.
Corruption. What's your thought?
Doctor, corruption, it has been a thorn in the flesh of the Zambian, every Zambian. Yeah. Because, you see, it has really, really ravaged our country to such an extent that our economy is beyond, it's irreparable. we are lucky that unfortunately the PF government was kicked out, because if we had allowed these guys to continue, I don't know where we would have been as we are talking right now.
Right.
But unfortunately, they could not see that they were sailing a sinking ship.
Yeah.
You know, just like if I can copy Dr. Chimba's words, uminewa chisoshi tachumfa. Yeah, so looking at the New Dawn government policies on corruption, the way they have declared the war on it, I think we are headed in the right direction. Now, the only challenge that the New Dawn government might face is we are not propagating the firing of some of the people that were, given jobs, especially on political appointments under the PF government. It's just a tradition in our country that every government that comes in has to, put their own people in order to drive its agenda. Because if that is not done, there will be a lot of frustrations.
Right.
So
yeah, I think the New Dawn is trying to have their own people in political policy making positions. I think that's the good thing. And what I think is there is a disconnect. Our people really do not understand that Zambia is a political state.
Exactly.
And as a political state, aba wina ama elections eba kuteke chalo. That's what I say in the past. Ngamoya kuma elections elo party imo ya wina. Idia party ya wina eiteke chalo. Eiteke chalo. So what it means is all the positions aya kuteka, if we are occupied by aba wina my elections eba teke chalo. Now this is not to mean ukwebati you have to have party cadres as teachers, party cadres as doctors. No. What it means is
not at all. Not at
the
all.
political state.
Yeah.
But that belong to the party. Ya iwi nine pantu e party abantu basarire okwebati teke. If we are
exactly. Then if you look at the the former government is constitution, yes. They were looking at putting their people in all strategic positions. Okay.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of people being fired, retired on national interest, even when there was nobody's national interest, but because it was the PF's national interest.
I think tribalism will be.
Yeah.
If I may not politicize it, I think in addition to corruption, tribalism would be one of the most intolerable thing from the previous administration.
Exactly.
I'm trying to steer away from politics as much as possible because Nishinja, I'm born again.
Amen.
Amen. But I think tribalism, PF tribalism was pretty bad, and I don't think that PF have come to realize how much that destroyed our country, and honestly, how our people are really against tribalism.
They didn't take that into consideration because to them it became a norm, okay, whereby a full cabinet minister will go on the podium and start talking about tribalism, castigating other tribes, which was really, really very unfortunate. But doctor, when we travel out of the country, when we go to foreign countries, we are not known by the tribe. We are known by the country we come from. Okay, can you imagine when I travel to Europe, I find my black brother from any of the African countries. That person becomes a relative to me. A relative.
No, actually,
Imagine.
Lawrence, in actual fact, even in Zambia,
Okay.
Zambians can't tell each other apart, actually. Even in Zambia, we can't tell each other apart in terms of tribe.
Very true. Very true.
To you, Motondo, you know, well, that's why we ask or we create ideas from the name.
Exactly.
Otherwise, even ourselves, we can't. Like,
no, we don't.
Just walking in the street. You can't tell. I don't know. Can she teach
So we just as Zambians, we just have that belonging Ubuntu as Zambians. Okay, we have lived together in harmony without any segregation, especially coming from KK's its regime. So we treated each and everyone as a brother. But when these guys came, oh my goodness, I don't know.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Lawrence. Yeah, so we'll bring you back later. Someone said praise singers are not educated, but that praise singers are not educated. So I don't even subscribe to this name calling of calling people at praise singers. And of course, the idea is that because of the stance we have taken, I'm being called a praise singer. I don't know, but there is also this idea of saying that praise singers are not educated and stuff like that. Our support for the New Dawn is very well-deserved support. We supported the UPND before it formed power. We supported President Hakainde Hichilema when he was in Balungu babulire ba Hichilema no kubakaka omlandu wa treason kumongu. We thought that was pretty unfair. That is where my advocacy started. At that time, who knew whether President Hakainde Hichilema would actually make it to State House? Nobody knew. But it was the unfairness of what was happening to him and the deterioration of the rule of law in Zambia that made us begin advocating for the UPND leader. And the hope that we had in saying that Zambia deserved the best. What was happening in 2016 was not the best that Zambia could have. In 2017, it was not the best. In 2018, with the Frederick Chiluba University money stolen, Ntumpa University money stolen, everything else, we said Zambia deserved something better. And during elections last year, we said we deserved something better and we endorsed the UPND. Now, I don't know, but common sense tells you that after you endorse a political party and then it forms government and then 9 months later, why should I begin fighting them? For what? If you want to fight them, you fight them. Lomba, inokuna station fight party and you to watch three endorse party. Twachita endorse party twaichita na campaign in August 2021. Ero number 9 months later, then that have abandoned you. Why would I do that? When they are doing all these things in order to help our country. The idea that we should just be opposition for the sake of being opposition. If you want to be opposition for the sake of being opposition, that is a very important place in Zambian democracy. Go ahead and do that. But you are not going to make me abandon a revolution that I stood for, contributed to 9 months after. No. That I'll not do. If there are issues, I'm going to address those issues. If there is something, I'm going to address it. But I'm not going to abandon a revolution that I contributed to. When it was not fashionable to do so. No. If you are anti-government or your opposition, it's your constitutional right to do so. But we were not doing opposition for the sake of being opposition to President Lungu. We were highlighting the abuses because Zambia was under a very, very dangerously incompetent leader. Dangerously incompetent. I don't want to do politics anymore, but I'm born again. But you keep driving me back. That tribalism was nauseating. So now 9 months later, when we are trying to solve very, very difficult situation, tapali chalo mwebo tapali chalo, August 2021. Ulupia takwali baliva. In Congole, 30 billion. Complete mismanagement, fuel mismanagement, grain mismanagement. Vale senda fefe vale senda beno kuiba. Ati ubomba muibala, alia muibala. That's what they did. And then 9 months later, why should I abandon this revolution? No. If this revolution abandons us as the people, well and good. Yes. We as the people are going to Kasalamano. Now, as long as this revolution is still sticking to the plan, remember the plan, very important, plan. Ni planishi. As long as they're sticking to the plan, fighting corruption, renegotiating the debt, paying off whatever it is, getting a little bit of money from the IMF in order to have our free education, peace in our country, umutende, weka, coexistence, respect for every tribe. And then how do I stand up and say, how mkwai ne vinjire fifuaya? If you're not lefuaya, ifi. Ebu teko nale, ifi file teka bahaka inde hichirema. Ebu teko tuwale fuayo bu, na hari kalaba na alanda. At hari kalaba went to Mpika. Hari kalaba, teine. Opposition leader Hari Kalaba Inkaka. He went to Mpika, ayafika kumpika. Elwasango kwebati actually under the new dawn. If you are a good opposition leader, you will succeed. If you are not a good opposition leader, tapalika pokoloa kulako pepeka yo. Hari Kalaba akuya isanga fiarifi eka 0 kumpika. No police and no one else chasing after him. Hari Kalaba ekulemba okwebati. This has never happened before. From the time that he became an opposition leader, where an opposition leader goes to Mpika and there is no police trying to chase them. That is what we wanted. Bakwati, if you take a bahaka in the hichirema, ebu teko tuale fuaya, ebu teko tuale dida, ebu teko, if you take a chalwefi, as long as it remains and has the interests of our people at heart, we will support it. Continue. Ine chama na umfuako na kuli Sean 0. Sean 0 atekesha meeting ero alera ndare sabaira. I can kutina chitako na tolerate ukumfakuli Sean 0. Than ukumfakuli bakerenka baona wire chalo. They destroy this country. They steal from you. 9 months later, they come back and tell you that they have a better plan. Better plan. No, they don't. Nangu feni chirufya tayari, uyu ine chirufya tayari, 0, tayari. Nangu, Sean 0. Bonse babiri, sabaire ni mane, it's tolerable. Than the Patriotic Front. No. Aba tekere, aba le teka. Elo ba muibira imwe as the people of Zambia. 9 months later, basa abwela tiyo mkwai tulibakari. Never. The Patriotic Front needs to be disbanded, completely disbanded. because the Patriotic Front as a brand is damaged beyond redemption. There is nothing that the Patriotic Front can do or say that is going to make the people of Zambia listen to them. The Patriotic Front as a party, it is tribalist, it is a party of thieves, it is a party of kelenkas, it is a party that completely destroyed. Lesa alisa vapela ishuko lyakuteka echalo. Lesa okupela va Patriotic Front ishuko lyakuteka echalo. Instead, they went to the country, stole from you as the people of Zambia. And today, we are bearing the consequences of that theft and mismanagement. Today, everything that the President Hakainde Hichilema is trying to correct, we are done under that leadership. Everything, theft, out of control inflation, poor kwacha, mining sector collapsing, business collapsing, everything collapsing. It was under that government. They have better ideas. They don't have better ideas. That's why convention they'll just do some math. Because the ego is watching. Pungwa aletamba. And God is not sleeping. He's watching over our country. There is no way that we are going to bring back the thieves that destroyed our country. No. Apa, all we need is cooperation, love, grace, and peace in our country to continue prevailing as we build ourselves out of these huge economic problems that we faced. Davis, Glencoe is the original PF rebranding with the same people. Meranwale, 2026 back to Namwala. The curse of the Patriotic Front is not returning in Zambia. It's not. It's not returning. Yeah. The curse of the Patriotic Front is not returning. Our people suffered enough. We suffered a lot. We are not going to tolerate it anymore. We can't let it. Yeah. Pastor Munshya, we need your lectures here in Zambia. But I do give lectures on TVBAKWETU. It's not enough, fine. No, I'm coming to give more lectures, but we are able to reach and do great things through TVBAKWETU, you know. And we want, when the history of our country is written, at least there's going to be a chapter or a verse about what TVBAKWETU stood for and what TVBAKWETU did. And so we can't allow people to rewrite it, to rewrite our story, to rewrite our history and the role that this brand did, TVBAKWETU did. That's why we stand by our revolution. Now, because we stood by our revolution, some people who are perennial opposition, they want to exclude us. You see, Bakwetu? People who want to be perennial opposition, they want to exclude us, not on the basis of what we did last year, but on the basis of the fact that 9 months after what we did last year, we have still remained supportive of our revolution. And so they want to retroactively remove the role that we played. And we are not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow anyone to try and misstate the kind of role that TVBAKWETU played. Every night coming live, not with the current numbers that we have right now, double that. Every night, our people in our country listening to the voice and the stories that we had for the liberation of our country from the regime that was. When that day comes, we'll look back and say that at least we played a role in helping liberate our country. It's a legacy that I stand by and greatly greatly humbled by it. When at the time that I went to vote at Chuempala Market, I go to Tuatasha, and some old woman, my auntie's friend, walks up to me and asks me about General and says she watched TVBAKWETU every evening. And we were one of those voices that were reaching to that old woman about the story of our country. And so you can't go back into history and rewrite it on the basis of our support for our revolution. That is not going to be. Balance is needed. You provide the balance, right? You provide the balance, of course. Yeah. One of the people was saying that educated cadres and stuff like that. Yeah. Politics must basically be taken away from people that have no clue. That's why we need to encourage all those that are educated to join it. The idea that discussion of politics in Zambia should be left to people that have no clue about what they are saying is over. Professionals, engineers, lawyers, accountants, doctors are supposed to be discussing politics. That is their correct and calling. They need to. You can't leave it up to people that have no clue to make the political noise, because in politics, noise matters. We can't leave it. And we are not going to leave it. So the idea that because I have a PhD, I shouldn't comment on politics is wrong, and it's pretty bad. With a PhD, I am going to comment on the politics of our country because Zambia matters. What is a PhD? Or the 8 degrees that I have? 4 in theology, 3 in law, and 1 in counseling psychology. What are they? What good does it do to gain all these degrees and yet lose your soul, lose your country? To my colleagues with PhDs, it's time for you to leave that PhD on the wall and speak to the people of Zambia about things that are going to help them. Feel no shame. The time that you are investing talking to your country matters because your nation matters. Without this nation, that PhD is completely useless. No, you are not going to blackmail me. No, what a PhD can she chindike like okulanda parifi no bane nomba natatule landa pankongole how to pay back the debt, how to correct the issues in mining, how to encourage our leadership. Then what are we here for? To look dignified and feel dignified that we have PhDs. The time for dignity and the diplomacy are going to come. But for now, it's up to the educated to leave their education and explain to the people of Zambia on radio, on television, on TVBAKWETU, so that our country's trajectory changes. This idea that it is the empty tins that should make the most noise is over. Loaded and educated people are going to come in and explain to our people what we need to develop our country. Voices and speech, and TVBAKWETU is one of those, because that's what we call ourselves. We are a collection of voices right here, the educated. This is a panel for experts, accountants, doctors, PhD holders. They come here in order to educate our country because our country matters. Thief Chitotela, I call him Thief Chitotela because I'm provoking him. Now, Thief Chitotela. Thief Chitotela has sued the SEC to be in court, and he's trying to do contempt proceedings, which I think he's going to lose eventually. Because if you steal from the people of Zambia, elo bakwikata ba SEC, elo waya signa akapepa la kabo fee. Elo nomba dilabasa kwikata na kai, elo wasala that no, I signed. No, mone, you are a thief. So I don't see any judge convicting SEC because the guy is a thief. Eh? Kuti we muntu waiba. Elo nomba baliaba kwikata. Babwera bati awo wali tubepa. Because if a child ali suminati aliba elo abweshako one piece of land, a very useless piece of land abwesha about pera na 10,000 va SEC. Elo mbaba SEC babwela bebere no mune wali tubepa kanshine fine wali kwata. Chilabamu ikata tiyo, it's contempt. That's why all of us as the people of Zambia, we must find it completely intolerable. Kwa politician aiba abwesha kwa kanono keeps the rest. SEC goes back to him. Imagine the guts, the courage that you must have. Because it's not easy. Tetua ichefia kokobati chachi ne kwena ndi mungona liba ndi ndoshina lilo analipa yana li Stephenefi. Wa ichefia kombale. Nomba no. Ubuka na bakakata Chitotela, thief Chitotela. No munawo chitaruchiro vya thieves. Na bakakate chipeshamano abati pakafie. No. And there is nothing personal that I have against this gentleman. All I am saying is that in order for us to develop as a country, we as citizens must find it completely intolerable. And when a person signs a useless document with SEC and says that no, Pantua SEC mwali pokereka small land, you can't come back for the more things that I store. No. This has been a presentation of TVBAKWETU. Elias Munshya here. Be sure to join us. Tomorrow we have something exciting. On Wednesday we always talk politics. On Thursday, Mr. Frank Saliki comes on with Thursday Motivation with Frank. On Friday, I could come back. And then on Wednesday, tomorrow, there's something we are working on with Mr. Akashambatwa Masheke. Mr. Akashambatwa Masheke. And then we have another exciting program. So tomorrow is very loaded. Very, very loaded. You'll be very happy with the programs that we have for you tomorrow. Wednesday, don't miss out. And then, like I said, TVBAKWETU is going to switch off from my pages very soon. We are giving ourselves a few weeks. And so we want you to get used to be receiving TVBAKWETU on the BAKWETU page, on the Linda Banks page, on Akashambatwa Masheke as well, on his page, because the reason why we are doing that is to delink it from me, to delink it from me personally, so that it becomes a brand on its own. So we are trying to work on that. So be prepared for that. Okay. Elias Munshya here on TVBAKWETU, and see you tomorrow. God bless you and God